You wake up, check your bank account, and it's not terrible, but it's also not great. You've got some money in savings, maybe a retirement account, maybe even a house. On paper, you're doing okay. But then that thought creeps in. Am I actually where I'm supposed to be at 45, or am I behind? And the worst part, you don't really know what normal even looks like, because nobody talks about the real numbers. My name is Mojo, and I spend way too much time thinking about how much people should have saved for retirement by midlife. If you're someone who feels like you're doing everything right, but still wonders if it's enough, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Alright, let's just get straight to it. How much does the average 45-year-old have in 2026? Here's the thing, the number is both higher and lower than you think. According to recent aggregated data from retirement providers and financial surveys, the average net worth of a 45-year-old is roughly $450,000 to $550,000, but the median, the more realistic number, is closer to $150,000 to $220,000. Let that sink in. The average is inflated by high earners. The median is what most people actually have. So if you're sitting there with $20,000 saved, you're below average. If you have $150,000, you're right in the middle. And if you have $500,000, you're doing better than most. But here's what most people don't realize. Those numbers are incredibly misleading on their own. Look, saying someone has $200,000 at 45 sounds decent, but where is that money? Is it in retirement accounts, locked in home equity, sitting in cash? Because those are completely different situations. For example, consider two people who both have a $200,000 net worth. Person A has $180,000 in retirement accounts and $20,000 in savings. Person B has $200,000 tied up in their house and $0 in retirement. Same number, but completely different futures. And this is where it gets really interesting. A huge percentage of people at 45 have most of their wealth tied up in their home. This feels good psychologically, but it doesn't actually generate income in retirement. Let's break this down with real math. If you're 45 today, you probably want to retire around 65. That gives you 20 years. Now let's say you currently have $150,000 saved for retirement, and you invest it at an average return of 7%. In 20 years, that becomes roughly $580,000. Sounds decent, right? Not quite, because retirement isn't about how much you have. It's about how much you can spend. Using the 4% rule, $580,000 generates about $23,000 per year. That's it. That's not a comfortable retirement. That's barely covering basic expenses in many places. Now you might be thinking, okay, but I'll just save more over time. And yes, that helps. But here's the problem. Most people at 45 are in their peak earning years, which means expenses are also at their peak. Kids, mortgages, lifestyle inflation, and psychologically, this is where people make their biggest financial mistakes. At 45, something strange happens. You're no longer young and figuring it out, but you're also not close enough to retirement to feel urgency. You're in this weird middle zone where you assume you still have time, but you're actually running out of it. Here's what most people don't realize. The majority of your retirement growth should already be happening by now, because compound interest works best early. Let me explain. If someone invests $5,000 per year from age 25 to 35, just 10 years, and then stops, they can end up with more money at retirement than someone who starts at 35 and invests $5,000 every year until 65. That's how powerful early investing is. So by 45, if you haven't built a solid base yet, you're now trying to compress 30 to 40 years of growth into 20, which is possible, but requires serious adjustments. Let's get more specific. Here's a rough breakdown of where people actually fall. The bottom 25% have less than $50,000 in total savings. The middle 50% have between $100,000 and $250,000. The top 25% have over $400,000. And then there's the top 10%, who often have $800,000 to $1.5 million. And here's the frustrating part. The difference isn't usually intelligence, it's behavior. The people ahead financially tend to do a few things differently. They automate investing, they avoid lifestyle inflation, and they start earlier, even if with small amounts. Meanwhile, most people increase spending as income rises, delay investing because life is expensive, and rely too heavily on future income. That creates a gap that compounds over time. Here's a big one. A lot of people assume, my income will keep going up, so I'll catch up later. Look, that can happen. But statistically, income growth slows after your 40s, and unexpected things happen: job loss, health issues, family responsibilities. So relying on future income is risky. Let's answer the real question. Where do you stand? Here's a quick benchmark. By 45, a common guideline is to have 3 to 4 times your annual salary saved for retirement. So if you make $50,000, aim for $150,000 to $200,000. If you make $75,000, aim for $225,000 to $300,000. If you make $100,000, aim for $300,000 to $400,000. If you're below that, you're not doomed, but you are behind, and ignoring it won't fix it. All right, let's get practical. If you're 45 and feeling behind, here's what actually works. Step 1. Increase your savings rate. Not 2%, not 3%. You need something more aggressive. Think 15 to 25% of your income. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but this is your catch-up phase. Step 2. Eliminate low-impact spending. Look, you don't need to become extreme, but you do need to be intentional. Cut things that don't improve your life or are purely habitual. Redirect that money into investments. Step 3. Maximize retirement accounts. Use employer matches and tax-advantaged accounts. This isn't optional anymore. At 45, efficiency matters. Step 4. Extend your timeline if needed. Here's the honest truth. Retiring at 65 is not mandatory. Working until 67, 68, or even 70 massively increases your outcome because you have more contributions and less time drawing from savings. Step 5. Focus on income growth. Cutting costs helps, but increasing income changes everything. That could mean negotiating your salary, switching jobs, or creating side income. Even an extra $500 a month invested makes a huge difference. This is where it all comes together, because this isn't just math, it's mindset. At 45, you have to shift from "I'll figure it out later" to "I'm in the window where this matters most." And yeah, that can feel overwhelming, but it's also empowering because you still have time to change the outcome. Look, if you're ahead, keep going. If you're behind, start now. Not next year, not when things settle down. Now. Because the difference between starting at 45 and starting at 50 is massive, and the future version of you is counting on the decisions you make today. If this video made you think differently about where you stand financially, hit the like button. It really helps more people see this. And if you want more breakdowns like this, real numbers, real strategies, make sure to subscribe, because the more you understand how money actually works, the more control you have over your future. And that's the goal.